Alright, this is gonna be one of the weirder videos that I probably filmed while I'm sitting here folding my laundry, because it's laundry day. But I wanted to film and get the message out anyways. So what I'm gonna talk about is basically, if you're doing something, why not be the best at it? So I know yesterday, if you watched that video, I'll leave it at the end, but I was talking about working a shitty job, right? Like working at a restaurant or working in retail or working at a warehouse, something like that, where it's not really somebody's career goal. That's not what you aspire to be for your future. At least I'd hope that you'd have bigger goals than that. So what I'm saying is, while you're working those jobs, like because in a lot of those jobs of retail or in a restaurant, a lot of those people that are working there are generally people who are younger, because it's an easily accessible job, right? You don't need a degree or any real work experience in order to get a job at McDonald's or to get a job at Foot Locker or something like that, where you don't, or at like a restaurant. So a lot of the people there are basically just people, usually, at least when I worked in a restaurant, it was a bunch of me and my other high school friends. So that's kind of what I'm going to say. And then the second time that I worked at a restaurant, it was in the summer after my freshman year of college, and all the other employees, besides the cooks and stuff, and some of the servers, were all, like all the other busboys and whatnot, they were all high school kids. So basically what I'm getting at here is, if you're young and you're working a job like that, why not try to be the best you can be? Like, I was working at my first restaurant job, I worked as a dishwasher, and obviously I didn't want to be a dishwasher for the rest of my life, but I still tried to be the best like dishwasher that restaurant had. So, and by the end of when I left, after my like year and a half, I think I can confidently say that I was the best or one of the best dishwashers there, because I was always super efficient. I would get everybody out on time, because at the end of the night you'd have to clean up after all the cooks and stuff like that. So if you're like, but then the other kids that I worked with, who were also like high school kids, and when I was a senior in high school working at that job, and then there were other like underclassmen, like maybe some sophomores or some juniors that were working there, and they'd always like go, when I would train them, they'd have to like work for a little bit, and then they'd have to go to the bathroom or go out to the back to hit their vape or something like that. That shit was so dumb. But those kids, they just did not really care about the job. And I can understand kind of where they're coming from. Like, why would you care about your very first job as a 16-year-old kid? But I think that if you're doing something, why not strive to be the best at it? And especially if you understand that that position you're in is only temporary. Like, I knew I wasn't going to be a dishwasher for the rest of my life. Another example that I'll give is in the winter break of my college, or my freshman year of college, I went back home and I worked at a COVID lab. So I was doing PCR tests, and not like I wasn't sticking the cotton swab up anybody's nose, but I was doing the testing results afterwards to see and determine and whether or not, like, if you've ever taken a COVID test and stuck the cotton swab up your nose and then put it in that test tube or whatever, and then sent it off to FedEx or whatever, then then I did the other half of that, which is analyzing and getting you your result of positive or negative with COVID. So in that experience, I was only there for my winter break, which ended up being only like a month and a half. But in that time, I wanted to be like, I would literally spend 15 hours a day there, because they didn't really give me, I was like a contract worker, so I didn't have like set hours. It wasn't really like, it was part-time, but it was considered contract work, so I wasn't necessarily on a schedule. they just say, oh yeah, your schedule is like 7 a.m. till whatever 8 hours is after that, like 7 to 3 or something like that, 7 to 4. And then I would end up staying from 7 in the morning till like, I don't even know, really late at night, like sometimes like 10 p.m. because that's like when one of my friends got off work, and he had a later shift that started a little bit later than mine. But I would literally just spend the whole day in that COVID lab, just trying to learn and trying to be the best employee that I could. And granted, I guess that position is a little bit different because I knew that I would only be there for a month. It's not like that I was gonna have to spend the rest of my years or multiple years there. So maybe treating that as more of a sprint gave me an advantage because I knew it wasn't going to be long lasting. I was only there for my winter break through college, and I wasn't even in the bio space or anything like that either. I'm in business. So I knew that's not anything that was going to contribute to what I wanted to do in the future, but just being a part of that was very interesting. And it was not the most glamorous work. Like, you'd think working in a COVID lab that'd be like really cool or something, but it was cool stuff, but it just wasn't anything like it. I found it very comparable to how a restaurant operated, just because of how like disorganized everything was and how much work there was always to be done. Like, you never had downtime because this was at the height of the pandemic, where there were literally hundreds and hundreds of tests that were on backlog. So for me, it was hard to find a time to leave because there was always work that could be done. So I always felt like I should be doing work, and then I couldn't really leave, and that's why I ended up spending like 15-hour days there. But aside from that, I still think it's important to try to be the best in what you're doing. Like, take pride in your work. A lot of people don't take pride in whatever they're doing, and maybe that's because they're in the position where, like, say if I was working at a restaurant and I was like 50 years old and I've been there for 20 years, I guess I wouldn't have this same outlook of like knowing that it's temporary because it's been just such a long time. But if you're young and it's your first job and something like that, why not try to be the best worker and employee there? And even if so what makes you think that if you slack off at this job, like, oh, free money, I can basically just sit here and wash a couple dishes every few hours and then I'll get yelled at, but it's fine because I'm sitting here getting paid to take vape breaks? Like, what makes you think that if you have aspirations in your life and you have bigger dreams than working at a restaurant, what makes you think that having that same work ethic won't carry over? Or what makes you think that once you find the job that you love, or once you start a business that you really enjoy, what makes you think that once you find that, you'll have the insane work ethic to be the best at that job or to be the best entrepreneur? I don't think you'll be able to, because it's not like you can just flip a switch once you find the job you love and you're like, oh, now I want to be the best. It's kind of the same attitude that carries through with everything you do. You can't just say that you're going to be like the people that are the best at what they do try to exceed in everything in their life. Why would you want to just be the best? Maybe that is the dream, is to be the best at just one thing, because then you don't have to focus any energy in achieving anything else. And now, I guess now that my clothes are folded, I'll sit on the bed and talk. But why that kind of same attitude carries over from other aspects of your life. So if you're slacking off doing your homework, what makes you think that you're going to be able to grind super hard at the gym or work really long hours on your business? That's just not the same. That's not how this works, because your previous habits will carry over into other parts of your life. So that's basically the message of today, is to try to be the best at what you do and take pride in your work too. Because when I was, so maybe my example at the restaurant was a little bit better because I was there for over a year and a half. So even though that was more of a long-term kind of thing, I still took pride and I still was proud of my work as a dishwasher, my work as a dishwasher. And even though that's not the most glamorous thing to be proud of, I still was very proud of how much effort I took into like perfecting that craft of being efficient at my job to help other people out. And it's not just for my own vanity aspects of, oh, I want to be the best dishwasher. I want everybody to, give me compliments and be like, oh, you're the best dishwasher every time I walk into work. That's not what I wanted. I wanted to be the best at what I did in order to help the people around me. So maybe there's like different incentives, different motives behind it, but I still think that it goes back to the question I posed earlier of what makes you think that if you slack off in this one area, it's not going to carry over to other parts of your life. And what makes you think that if you slack off at your first job, at your first like real job, then what makes you think that when you get into the job that you love, if you truly want to be the best, and if you're doing something that you love, why wouldn't you want to be the best for one? And if you're just like, if you're being an entrepreneur or something like that, where it's like super competitive and you can't really afford to be someone who doesn't want to be the best, because if you're not striving to be the best in something like entrepreneurship and starting your own business, and you're not being competitive in that space, you're just going to fail, because that's the harsh reality, is that people who half-ass it or who don't put in effort don't succeed. And I've seen that myself because I've been there as well. I've tried out business and starting my own things, and whenever I don't put in a good effort, it ultimately ends up in failure, which is not something that you want. Or maybe it is something you want because of, I don't know, you gain some experience from that or whatever. But if you're trying to succeed, why not be the best at it? That's basically my message for today. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this kind of weird video style where I was impromptu just folding my laundry. But anyways, if you stayed till the end, leave a like. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time, and remember to stay on target.